Hello, I'm Patrick Thomas, and welcome to Ladder Talks, live from Studio 25. Well, I'm really liking my graphics. I've been so busy here lately, I haven't had time to get the wall poster made, but as I've said before, I've got a lot going on. The stories and the commentaries are happening faster than the studio environment itself. What's more important, the environment or what you're getting out of this? I mean, I am still on my smartphone, my Galaxy phone here. I've got a webcam sitting over here that's just waiting to be hooked up. My fiber optic cable is mounted on a 4 foot by 4 foot, 3/4 inch plywood board. Now I'm waiting on CenturyLink to come out and do their part and hook up my phones and my routers and everything, so I can bring that fiber optic technology into this room here, so I can use my cameras and set up several cameras. So a lot is happening, and my focus, I don't mind telling you, my focus has been on the stories and the events that are happening. You deserve, regardless of the quality, you deserve to be informed. As I said in the promotional video, we're getting the attention of a lot of people. The public is still coming up to me, and they're recognizing me, and they're saying hi, and we appreciate what you're doing. The comments via YouTube, now there's some haters out there, and they're saying some hateful things, but you know what? As long as they're getting the same information, I don't think they can dispute the truth, and I don't think they're wanting to infringe upon my rights to my opinions. Now, I'm not here to hurt anybody. But folks, there's a lot of people who are hurting themselves. I don't have to hurt them. Okay? Some of you might think I keep poking the bear on some things, but hey, the Leader News, if they keep publishing, I'm going to keep talking about it. I want to promote this business in town. I want to keep the paper copy around. I want the Leader News to survive. And if me making commentaries on the Leader News helps them, then you better believe it, I've got something to talk about, and I'm going to talk about it. So, setting aside all the drama and the fun and excitement, today I'm going to compartmentalize these segments. In this segment right here, I'm only going to talk about police pay is lagging, a concern to officials. Okay, a lot of this recent drama or excitement going on is about the secret meeting that didn't exist. That's going to fall under a different segment to discuss further the Jacksonville officials took FOIA classes. I'm going to come back to that later in another segment. We're going to discuss all the legalities. I've got a file folder here. It's about FOIA laws. But right now I want to talk to you about the police pay is lagging. I'm going to start out by saying, folks, this country has we've got a wage crisis. The minimum wage keeps creeping up so much that these officers, in a sense, they're now approaching minimum wages. Cities all across America are hurting financially because the cost of living is rising right along with minimum wage raises. Just recently, you may have seen in the news where the House passed a $15 an hour bill, and it's supposed to be spread out over several years, but eventually it will go to $15 an hour. Now, back in 2005, our minimum wage was $5.25 an hour. We went from 2005 at $5.25 an hour to, in 2007, we went to $7.25 an hour. Now you do the math. That's about a 39% pay raise for minimum wage workers. Now I'm sorry if any of you out there are high school students and you can no longer get a job because minimum wage is $8, $9, $10 an hour. Nobody's going to hire a high school student at that rate anymore. They're going to replace you with a robot. They're going to replace you with a computer panel, and you're already ordering at McDonald's because of these computer panels. It's cheaper to have a computer panel than it is to have a $9 or $10 an hour worker behind the counter. Now, you might say, well, what does this have to do with police pay? Friends, I'm telling you, when you study the wages in America, and everybody says the police aren't making enough money, I agree, they're not making enough money. The problem is that disparity is a gap that is being closed by the minimum wage worker. Over in Lonoke County, you go talk to Sheriff John Staley, he'll tell you some of his jailers over there are probably making minimum wage to staff a jail. Can't get anybody to work. Minimum wage, it's all they can afford sometimes. Now, I may be wrong at minimum wage, but they're making low-end wages just as jailers. Now, I'm not sure what the credentials are to become a jailer compared to, say, a deputy sheriff or a police officer. But what I do know here in Jacksonville is we have a lot of police officers that are leaving, no doubt. Chief Franklin stated that in his first week after he was hired, some 6 police officers left the force. I'm going to talk about it later. A lot of these police officers are not leaving the force for pay. I know one in particular, after talking with him, he went to another agency. He said, I didn't leave because of the pay. He said, in fact, I left and took a cut in pay. He told me, I'm making less money today than I did working for JPD. So it's not always about the pay. It's a whole different story, and I'm going to come back and talk about it later. It sometimes is things like drama inside JPD or morale issues. It's not always about the pay, folks. Now, to get into this story, I've already discussed what I'm going to call paragraph number 2, and that the officers are making less pay. Get you a newspaper, folks, $19.87. You can get a subscription, $19.87 per year for 3 years. It's about $60 a year. I haven't plugged the leader here lately. But when you flip over to page 5A and you start reading, I've got several things highlighted here on 5A. It says in here, of the last 5 officers to leave, the department stated pay was the concern. Even with higher pay, both North Little Rock and Little Rock, just like Jacksonville, are having a hard time filling positions. As we have officers who are leaving all across this country, nobody seemingly wants to be a police officer today. And now we're talking about police officers have to be 21 to. It's a whole different story and a different conversation. They're not old enough to suffer the stress. Little Rock is running its department short about 70 officers. North Little Rock is short about 25, and Jacksonville about 20. Even Benton is short about 10 officers. As you read this is not a Jacksonville problem as far as a shortage goes, and the reason why people are leaving. Everybody's got all these bonuses. Come over here at our department and we'll give you this bonus. Even the military offered bonuses for signing on. The pay is the topic here. A new officer in Jacksonville makes $35,363. Well, let's just take a look here. I've got some FOIA requests that came in here recently, and let's just discuss it. Yeah, here we go. Got 2 pages here. I'm not going to give you any names. I'm going to mention officer, sergeant, and what's not listed in here is detectives. But I did see. I've got another chart regarding pay increases. Oh, yeah, here it is. Proposed Jacksonville Police Department salaries. This is apparently a document that was within an email that I FOIA requested. We'll come back to this here if I don't lose it on my desk here. A police officer, what did the leader news say here? A police officer in Jacksonville makes $35,363. Okay, well, I'm looking at some police officers here, and I don't mean to argue with the Leader News and their documentation. I'm seeing police officer pay rates. Looks like I'm seeing a 39,000, a 41,000, 36,000, 41,000, 39,000, 41,000, 39, 39, 39, 36, 069, 39,000, 41,000, 36,000, 39,000. So I'm not sure where the Leader News is getting this 35,363. Folks, our officers, the low-end patrol officers, the entry-level positions, if you will, these officers are being paid at those numbers. I've got the charts here. This is as of August 1, 2019. So this is not old material, okay? Now, when you move over to the subject of, let's just say, police sergeant, they've got numbers in here ranging from 45,000, 46,000. Lieutenants are being paid in and around the 53,000. Captains are 61,404. The police chief is $82,100.10. This chart was as of, at the time, we've got 70 positions. I've already discussed this, by the way, in another video. 55 filled, 7 in the academy. So that's going to put us about 62 officers, probably with 70 positions, not including office personnel. That's 62. We're only about 8 short, with 7 in the academy. Okay, that's from a FOIA request I did. Now, let's compare this FOIA request and what we're actually paying officers to what the police chief is wanting to pay everybody. And we're talking about police pay here, and I'm adding comments that the Leader News doesn't have in here. Okay, this document that I have here in front of me, again, was what I believe to be an early 2019 request. This was attached to an email regarding a proposed pay raise. The patrolman's starting salary, they're saying here, 36. They're saying presently the starting salary is 36,069.90. That's still a higher amount than what the Leader News is quoting at 35,000. So Rick Crone, I think, who did the story, I'm not sure where you're getting your information from, but it says a new officer in Jacksonville makes $35,363. The proposed minimum was $41,000 a year starting salary. I really don't even want to get into the others, but the low-end officers, the patrolmen who you and I appreciate having on the streets, driving up and down the streets, watching our families, our neighborhoods, our properties, keeping an eye out for the bad guys and chasing down the bad guys. The guys that are doing all the chasing are always the younger guys, okay? The new guys, the guys who are in their 20s, let's say, who are physically capable of running down the guys. Now, I don't mean that as a slam, okay? Let's have a reality check here. The older you get, and the longer you're in a department, your physical capabilities might be reduced a little bit. So all I'm trying to say here is that the guys who are chasing down the bad guys on foot and sometimes in their patrol cars, they're making the least amount of money. They're doing the grunt work, okay? I realize everybody in the military, they all understand we've always got the lowest paid people on the front lines. It's a given. I understand that. So, interesting enough, some of the recent information that is coming out, and I'm gonna come back to this step raises. Now, I told you in a previous video that I was for step raises, okay? But folks, what I have here, this is ridiculous. Recommend a step increase of $15,000 annually. I haven't run the numbers on it, but that's recommended a step increase of $15,000 per year at years 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10, 12.5, and 15 plus years. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. When I previously said I was for step raises, I'm talking about something that would be subtle, but yet it is an increase and a smaller and gradual increase. If I'd have been Mayor Johnson, I would have denied this too. This is crazy, folks. This is absolutely crazy. $15,000 a year on top of, wow. That had to have been a typo. That might have been $1,500. But no, it clearly says right here. There's a $sign, a 1, a 5, a comma, and 3 zeros, a decimal, and 00/YR for a year. $15,000. Wow. The police chief, I think he's wanting a pay raise. He recommended, says right here, chief of police making $82,100.10. Recommended $86,700 a year. This is the average salary for a chief of police in the USA. And that number apparently does not include the code enforcement guys. 3 or 4 people. Recently in my FOIA request, I found an email where Chief Franklin was pointing out to Mayor Johnson that, oh, by the way, Mayor, I just wanted to bring it to your attention, but the prior 2 chiefs, referring to Gary Sipes and Kenny Boyd, both chiefs previously, they had received more money for bringing under their wings the code enforcement folks. Now, I don't know how much time that adds to a chief's day. There's always a code enforcement supervisor. I would expect there to be a sergeant, lieutenant, maybe a captain or somebody assigned to code enforcement. If it's part of the chief's duties to supervise code enforcement as a separate entity, okay, it might add a little bit to his day. But I think at the time that we had code enforcement under the JPD, in the JPD building, Charlie Jenkins was the guy who ran code enforcement. Does it add? The chief was wanting an additional $7,000 to supervise code enforcement under his watch. Really? In a time where our low-end officers are needing extra pay to keep them from running off, you want an additional $7,000? Wow. You know, we everything I'm getting out of this whole pay raise things doesn't sound to me like the low-end guys are getting much of a fair share of an increase. To go from one rank to another should be a smooth transition. Okay, let me make a point here for you. I've already called off some of these numbers, and you may have already caught this, but a police officer, let's just say making $36,000 to $41,000, steps up to sergeant at $45,000. Well, a step chart that I have in mind would have the highest ranking police officer making just about the same as a lowest ranking sergeant. It would be a smooth blend. No huge gap in between. It's that gap in between that we can close with some of those step raises, but not a guaranteed $15,000 per year. Wow. Sergeants, they're making 45, 46,000, and I understand there's certification pays in there. I've already spoke to this, and I've received some phone calls and messages that some of those differences are because of certification pays. Now we've got, let's just say, going from a lieutenant or a sergeant from a lieutenant. We're going from 46,000 to 53,000. Again, even in the military, you don't have huge gaps in between those responsibilities and duties. There's a smooth transition between an E1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or even an officer, 01, 2, 3, 4 through 9, 10. We've got some latitude to close some of the gaps. If you're a high-ranking officer and you get promoted to sergeant, you're going to get a pay raise because now you're promoted to sergeant, but it's not going to be that much. But under what I would consider a good step program, not having $15,000 a year annually increased every 2.5 years or whatever, it closes these gaps. Okay. Going from a sergeant to a lieutenant, I've already discussed, is 46,000 to say 53,000. From a lieutenant to a captain, they go from 53,000 to 61,000. The next lieutenant that is about to be promoted to captain should be making just right under the lowest ranking captain. A good smooth chart. I can hear it now. Some of you guys are out there saying, oh, you don't know what the heck you're talking about. Numbers is common sense, folks. Common sense. And these gaps, no. We should close the gaps, stretch out our pay raises through a step pay chart, but not to $15,000 a year, and every 2.5 years you get. I don't even want to put a calculator to those numbers. It sounds so crazy. Wow. So, I don't think some of these numbers are being put together using business-minded supervision. They're just being put together by a pipe dream that I want more money. Let's just throw another $7,000 onto the chief's pay for bringing in about 4 people. Is he going to want $7,000 more because we're understaffed by 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 officers, and whenever we get full staff, are you going to want more pay? Wow. Now, the very last paragraph of this pay article, it says here, the local shortages follow a national trend of fewer applicants applying, maybe because of pay, but many don't qualify because of criminal activity on their records, or they fail the physical requirements. A lot of cities just simply can't afford to pay some of these higher rates. Some of our officers are prior military, and they've got military retirements. There are some pay programs out there where they know that you've got a military retirement pay and you're going to make less money, and maybe you're a little bit older. That's a different conversation for another day. But folks, I'm going to end this segment. Police pay is lagging, a concern to officials. From what I've just said here, there's a lot to be concerned about. And I don't know where these numbers are coming from, but they're crazy. They're crazy. They're just not doable. So no wonder. Mayor Johnson, you did right. And I wouldn't have even tell these people to go back to the drawing board with their pay increase charts. Crazy is, crazy does. Sounds like something Forrest Gump might say. But, man, I do support what one of the city council members says: if anybody deserves a pay raise, everybody deserves a pay raise. Years ago, this was a long time ago, and I read this, the top 3 most dangerous jobs, and I'm only going to quote 2, was garbage collectors, police officers, and let's just throw in the mix firemen. The top 3 most dangerous, I don't remember now if it was civilian government type jobs or what, but what I realized was garbage collectors was in that mix. Some of that data may have changed here lately due to mechanization. Garbage collectors are probably not exposed to as many toxins, and due to regulations of keeping stuff out of the garbage, they're probably not exposed to as many toxins. So the garbage collector may have fallen out somewhere in that number, but I just remember that stuck in my mind. When you're handling some of the garbage in this town, is that almost like handling hazardous waste, depending, not knowing what's in those garbage cans? Again, I realize we don't have guys riding on the back of trucks these days, hanging on to metal platforms that are just coated with all sorts of toxins and bacterias, and we've got flesh-eating bacterias out there today. I don't hear the garbage men complaining about not being paid enough. But the job has historically been mentioned as being just as dangerous because of their exposure to stuff. So, this video is approaching 27 minutes. I'm Patrick Thomas. You heard it live from Studio 25. This is Ladder Talks. We're just a little bit taller than a soapbox. Y'all tune in for the next segment regarding the FOIA request. We'll see you then. Bye.